This is the Savvy Investor radio show and podcast. For help with your retirement, schedule a 15-minute phone conversation with the team at ProStatus Financial Advisors today. Just call 866-597-1040 and at thesavvyinvestorradio.com.
Welcome back to the Savvy Investor Radio Show and podcast with Mike Canet and Lawrence Kiely of ProStatus Financial, going through some of the questions that you might have about your 401k, about your money, about your retirement. And one of the big questions people ask is, how much do I need to save? There's always people asking that question, and they want to know how much they need per month. All right, I've got some hard data for you from the BLS, the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The average spend for a household in retirement, age 65 to 74, $5,400 a month. For those 75 and older, the spending goes down a little bit, $4,400 a month. And the average Social Security benefit for a couple over 65 is about $3,000 a month. So when I looked at that, Mike, I go $3,000 to $5,400, or if I wanted $6,000 or $7,000, it doesn't seem like that hard of a lift. Why are we so worried about this? Why is it so complicated?
Well, I think it goes back to your original statement, have I saved enough? And part of the problem is that people don't sit down and do the raw numbers. They don't crunch the numbers until they're almost, I can't tell you how often somebody comes in the office and says, I retired yesterday. Do I have enough money? Well, that's always a silly time to make that decision, right? After the fact, do I have enough? So absolutely, having a plan in place. So usually the best time for people to sit down and start thinking about retirement is about the first day you start work when you're 20, 25 years old. But the fact is by the time you're 50, you need to be talking to advisors, a firm like ours, where you're sitting down and just making sure you're on the right track, because that's what a financial advisor is going to do for you. They're going to sit down and be able to show you, do we have enough income? Is it in the right income buckets for us when we get to retirement? Is it in the right tax buckets when we get to retirement? Are we losing 20 to 30% to Uncle Sam? Or are we being able to keep that 20 to 30% for, it was interesting. Earlier this week, I was sitting down with the clients and we were going through their plan, right? So we had already created the income streams that they need. We were pretty sure we had enough saved, and we were kind of walking through the plans. We're in the third year of our retirement, which is always the first 5 years are the most tricky of any retirement. And so we're in that third year. We're making sure we're still on target. And I'm showing them their numbers. And one of the things that was really fascinating to them is that if they choose to continue to go down the road and no longer do any more tax planning, because tax planning, it's always painful, especially everybody keeps hearing about it's been made permanent. Well, like I've said in the past, permanent is only until the next elected officials decide not to make it permanent. They've repealed and made permanent, the death tax a dozen times in the last 100 years. So their concern was, do we still need to do Roth conversions? Do we still need to be doing tax planning at this point? And do we still have enough? And when I ran the numbers, I showed them. And in their particular situation, and everybody's a little bit different. And their situation is if the markets were down, if the markets did not cooperate and were not positive the way we want them to be over time, they were going to have about $1.5 million left over when they died, which tells us that they have more wiggle room. And like you alluded to, we were having that conversation. Could they afford to spend more money, and were they going to have enough? But when I showed them the tax planning aspect of it, they had about $5.5 million left over. And that's that compounding effect of not having paid the tax bill. So for them, by not paying the tax bill, by being more tax efficient, it meant that they did not have to save as much money, which meant they could spend more money. And like we said in the very beginning of this episode, is that most people, when they go into retirement at between 60 and 65, that's when most people retire, they think they need X amount of money to live on. And Lawrence and myself on our team, our experience tells us we always spend more money in the first 10 years of retirement. Between the honey-do list, the round-two list, and the bucket list, you're going to be spending more money. And in your mind's eye, you're saying, I need $5,000 or $6,000 or whatever the number is. And yes, you may have Social Security. Yes, you may have a pension, but there's going to be a bogey. There's going to be a shortage. And the concern is, does the shortage cover my needs plus what I spend extra? And that's where having a sound financial plan comes into place. And if you click on the link below, if you go to our website or click on the link below and set up a time, we will show you, we will create an income plan for you. We will create a tax plan for you. We will create a comprehensive financial plan for you to show you the answers to all those questions. Am I in the right tax strategy? Am I in the right income strategy? Do I have the right amount of assets allocated into the market? Do I have the right amount of assets allocated into the fixed buckets? And quite frankly, do I have enough? And it all starts by just clicking that little button and sitting down and talking with Lawrence, myself here and the team here at ProStatus. But the fact is that having the right plan in place and understanding where that money is going to go to allows you to decide, do I have enough money to get through retirement? And if you stop sending 20 to 30% to Uncle Sam, that means less risk and more money for you, which is at the end of the day allows you to know, did I save enough in the first place?
Lawrence, one of the reasons I brought this story up today is the timing of it all. For people who took that early retirement from their federal job, and earlier this year, we are now in that window of people having to make this decision. There's a whole bunch of people out there right now that are saying, do I have enough every month to retire? Because maybe they're not at that point where they thought they were going to retire. They thought they'd go to 62. They thought they'd go to 65, but things have changed, and now they've decided to take the early retirement. Have you dealt with that, and what are you seeing out there?
Yeah, so I mean, it's funny because one of the biggest things we get with federal employees and people that call in from the radio show is that question, do I have enough? Or, and they have a lot of times these federal employees have, pretty large TSPs. They've done an amazing job saving. Then they have the pension. They have, they're blessed to have that pension. They'll have Social Security, and they're always wondering, I just want to make sure I have enough money to retire, that I'm going to be okay. So we had a lot of people come in, especially in April. One of the people I talked to that just recently came in again was Rose from Towson. She came to us back in April, and we did an analysis, and we were talking about, some of her goals. She was a widow, and she had one daughter and a couple grandkids. And we were talking about the plan, and she was offered the early retirement. She was about 58 years old. And we were talking about, what are the goals? What do you want to do with this money? She had about $1.5 million saved in the TSP. She had a pension coming in because she was 58. We talked about you have the Social Security supplement that you'll have on top of the pension until you hit 62 years old, and you can take Social Security. And she wasn't really spending that much money. We looked at, what is the income you need to live your lifestyle? And she was a modest spender. She was spending about, $3,000 a month was her lifestyle. She had her house paid off. She had no debt. And we were looking at, I was really just wondering, what's the worry? Why are you so concerned on retiring? Because you have $1.5 million saved up. You have the pension, you have the Social Security supplement, and then you will have Social Security that kicks in once that supplement goes away. And you have more than enough. You're $2,000 above what you actually need to live from a spending standpoint from what you're telling me. So you're okay. So the one part of it is just that psychological factor, is being able to reassure you and show you the numbers on paper to say it is okay for you to walk away. You can retire, whether it be now or you want to have that 3 bad day rule, whereas, now I'm just sick of it. I'm okay to retire. Being able to see those numbers on paper to say, okay, it is okay for me to walk away. I can retire and I can have a successful retirement is part one of it. But then we looked at, okay, you have this 1.5 in pre-tax money sitting there in the TSP. What are the goals for that? Because you don't need that money anymore. You have the pension and it's over your lifestyle. It's supplementing the income you need. What's the goal for that money? And she said, the goal is I want to give some to charity, but it's ultimately to leave it to my daughter. So we talked about tax planning, right? Taxes came into the picture again, because it was, you have all this money that's going to compound over the next 12 to 15 years. And then it's going to drop on your tax return. Let's start implementing a strategy now so that you don't have to worry about RMDs. You're going to be tax efficient. We can control the taxes as much as we can with you having a pension in retirement. And then when you do pass away eventually and that money goes to your daughter, it goes to her 100% and the grandkids tax-free. So tax planning became a very important aspect of that planning, because the income was there. The income need, we didn't need to do anything to cover the income need because she had the pension, because she had Social Security, and she wasn't spending that much. So it was looking at that asset, that pre-tax asset that she has saved over her lifetime, and how do we efficiently position that for her and her family?
So if you want to know more about how we may be able to help you, and Mike, you can probably put an invite out to anybody right now who is struggling with this decision, who probably was struggling back in April. Should I take this early retirement or not? Now you're up against that timetable. Give us a call, 866-597-1040, 866-597-1040, or the SavvyInvestorRadio.com is our website. 2 V's in Savvy, the SavvyInvestorRadio.com. And Mike, I know that this is kind of an open invitation to anybody out there who is, whether you're federal benefits or not, and thinking about retiring early or not, this is a major concern for people.
It absolutely is. And quite frankly, it should be a concern, right? I mean, you worked all your life. You've made smart choices with your money. You've saved diligently. And now you want to make sure it's there for you to use properly, to make sure you can enjoy retirement the way you deserve. But you also want to make sure that you are maximizing the benefit. If there's going to be something left over for your heirs, whomever it happens to be, and by the way, if you don't have heirs, Lawrence and I are more than happy to help you take care of that part. But the fact is that it's all about having that plan in place, and especially, I mean, we do this for everybody, but for federal employees, they are naturally, just they're a little bit more conservative, But I think Lawrence, I think you were spot on. This conversation is more an emotional conversation for most people, right? Because part of the thing that they have to come to terms with is they spent so much time growing that nest egg, but they grew it for the purpose of being able to use it. And a lot of people struggle with the idea that they're going to start spending that money. They've taken 20, 30, 40 years to grow it to an account value, and now they struggle emotionally with the spending of it, right? That's a huge decision. And not only that, spending the money, but also what does retirement look like? Half the conversations we have are, what are you doing to retirement? And I joke about the fact that I thought I was going to be riding motorcycles and playing golf. And my wife explains to me over and over again, we're going to be living next to the daughter-in-law she likes best with the grandkids, because that's her goal. And I didn't realize that was our goal, but it clearly is where we're going to wind up. But that's the conversations that you can have when you pick up the phone and give us a call at 866-597-1040, 866-597-1040, sit down with Lawrence, Ryan, myself, my whole team here at ProStatus. We're going to show you how to create income streams. We're going to talk to you about long-term care, estate planning, the fees you're paying. We're going to talk about how much risk. And the risks should always be dictated by your goals. Take the least amount of risk necessary to accomplish your goals, which is what is so wonderful about federal employees, is that they understand, let's take the least amount of risk necessary. And taxes. Stop giving 20 to 30% right off the top to the tax man. Pick up the phone, give us a call, 866-597-1040.
So there was that movie, Jerry Maguire, where the line was, show me the money. Well, yes. I think you should sit down with the team at ProStatus Financial and say, show me the math. Let's do the math on your retirement. When you start to see it in black and white right there in front of you, this is where you're really, I think, going to just kind of relax about your retirement, knowing that the income is there every month for you, and there's a tax plan to go along with it. Give us a call. Give us a look on our website, thesavvyinvestorradio.com, right there, thesavvyinvestorradio.com. There's some buttons right there on the website that you can push, and it'll open up a field for you. Put a little information in there, and our team will reach out to you, or you can reach out to us right now. 866-597-1040, 866-597-1040. That is all the time we have on the Savvy Investor Radio Show and podcast for today. Lawrence, I'll give you the last word on this one.
This is Lawrence Kiely. Thank you for listening to the Savvy Investor Radio Show and podcast.
And this is Mike Canet. We'll see you, the Savvy Investor, next week.
Advisory services offered through ProStatus Financial Advisors Group, a registered investment advisor. Insurance licensed in Maryland. ProStatus Financial Advisors Group, LLC is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if ProStatus Financial Advisors Group is licensed in your state, please call 410-863-1040. ProStatus Group, LLC is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through representatives of ProStatus Financial Advisors Group.